Oh, thank you, Joe. My talk today, if I had to put a title on it, is A Tale of Two Mandalas. If you're not familiar with the term mandala, it is uh, essentially mandalas are maps that are used by different cultures and religions as a guide for each unique expression of a spiritual journey. My theory is that over tens of thousands of years, all spiritual paths on the planet at their very deepest level are tapping in to the exact same source. Uh, Over the last 6 weeks or so, Joe has been in Heart to Heart. Joe has been focusing on Meister Eckhart's Wayless Way, which is another type of mandala that was developed by Eckhart back in the 13th century Europe. Other mandalas used by ancient civilizations of indigenous people have been discovered as old as 20,000 years ago. So what I would like to try to do this morning is take two mandalas, one being Meister Eckart's Wayless Way, which the heart-to-heart people that have been here the last 6 weeks or so should be familiar with, and then compare that with a Native American mandala and see whether some of the similarities are and some of the differences are, and what that might teach us. So Joe, would you go ahead and put up the screensaver with the photo of the mandala, please? That's not it. Yeah, okay. Um, Many of you will remember a talk I gave, I don't know, several months ago about a vision quest that I did in the Smoky Mountains in the year 2000. And after I got back from the vision quest, one of the first things I did was to build this mandala in my backyard. This is a Native American style medicine wheel, is it typically called, but it's also referred to as a sacred hoop or a spirit wheel. But you can see there that it's a circle, and the circle, as you might guess, represents all of creation. But it's broken up into four quadrants. And the four quadrants correspond to the four directions: south, west, north, east. And each direction is associated with a color. So in this case, brown, or sometimes they use green, is associated with the south. And then moving clockwise around the mandala from the south, you go to the west, where the color is black, and to the north you have white, and then red for the east. Now, these colors are symbolic of the four elements. The Native Americans believed that the entire universe was composed of four elements earth, wind, water, and fire. And so those four directions and those four colors correspond to the four elements. And then in the very center, you'll see in the one I did in my backyard here is a large stone. And that large stone represents the Great Spirit, what we would call God. Sometimes in Native American villages, every Native American village will have a mandala somewhere in the village, usually right in the center. And a lot of times they'll plant a tree right at the center of the mandala. In this case, I used a large stone, but it speaks to the fact that in the center of that, God or the Great Spirit is in the very center of creation and radiating out energy in all four directions. So, Joe, would you go ahead and switch over to the drawing now, please? Not seeing it yet. There you go. Okay, good. So, yeah, I didn't do well in art class when I was in school, but this is the best I could do. The top half of this drawing is the Meister Eckhart mandala. And I'm not going to go into this in great detail because Joe has been talking about it for 6 weeks or so. But it starts in the south with what Eckhart calls the via positiva. It's all about it represents the season of summer. It's all about growth and the attachment of creation to earth, earthly things, and in moving clockwise around the mandala, you go from the via positiva to the via negativa, which is the season of fall, where you have sunset and death, and the ending of things. And then around to the north, the via creativa, which is a period of emptiness that you can think of as more of a winter kind of a flavor. And then over to the east, the via transformativa is where that emptiness is transformed back into creation as a new birth. So that's a very quick review of Eckhart's mandala, but I want to go into a little more detail about the Native American one. The spirit wheel, which is the common name for it today, dates back to between 10 and 20,000 years ago, and like Eckhart, it starts in the south with the element of earth. And typically it's either green or brown, and it represents existence and our experience with meeting existence. And from that experience of meeting resistance, we grow and we learn. And then at some point, as you work around again clockwise around the mandala, you go from this growing kind of a feel to a darkness. So in the West, and it's associated with the wind because the prevailing winds typically come from the west, and so and it's also associated with darkness because that's where the setting of the sun occurs. So you have darkness and the representation of darkness and death, and the whole idea of impermanence, which reminds me a lot of kind of a Buddhist philosophy. And then moving on around the mandala, you go to the north, which is associated with water and the color white. So you might think, well, water is not white, but it is white if it's snow. So the Native Americans associated the north with white because that's where the snow was found. And it's also the place where after you have this period of growth and the period of darkness, it results in that experience results in wisdom. So the north encompasses both wisdom and a feeling of emptiness. And then moving around to the east, that faces the rising sun, and that's why it's associated with fire and the color red. That represents both the birth of a new creation and new beginnings. So that's the basis of the Native American mandala. But I want to talk about some similarities and differences. Both of them start in the South with a flavor of creativity and then proceed clockwise around the mandala. In Eckhart's version, there's 4 dimensions of positive, negative, creative, and transformative energy that he uses as major themes in his mandala. Where the spirit wheel, there is 4 sacred elements of growth, death, emptiness, and new beginnings. So you have similar major themes, but not exactly the same. The main difference, I think, comes in the way they're viewed. Eckhart's mandala is a spiral kind of an effect, where if you think of it, I mean, on a piece of paper, it's just a 2-dimensional spiral. But if you think of it as a 3-dimensional spiral, it can be one of 2 ways. It can either spiral up, which as you move around the mandala clockwise from south to west to north to east, each time you make a complete circle around, and it could be a day or a year or any length of time, if it spirals up, each time you make a spiral, you're transcending and including what came before. So that's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is as a downward spiral, where instead of spiraling up, so you transcend and include, you're spiraling down, and you go deeper and deeper into the heart. And it reminds me of, if you spiral down deep enough, eventually you reach what Merton talked about as the La Pointe Vierge, which is the point deep within your heart, a point of nothingness that's completely untouched by sin and illusion. Now, if you look at the Native American version of this, in their concept of the medicine wheel or of the mandala, all four quadrants are two-dimensional, and in their case, everything is happening at once. Starting in the South, you have things that are growing and developing in your life, and think of it in your own personal life. We all have things that are just beginning in our life, or just starting to grow, and at the same time, we have other things that might be ending or dying in our life. Maybe a relationship, or maybe a job that's being lost, that sort of thing. And that leaves us with an emptiness and the wisdom of the experience of both the growth and the ending part of things. So it leads around to the north, where that's associated with wisdom. And then after that, there's other things in our lives that are happening, that are coming into being as a new beginning. So in the Native American perspective, all these things are happening at once. Things are growing, things are ending, leading to wisdom, and that leads to new beginnings. So thinking about this a little further, to me, they both carry a distinct flavor of Eastern thought and other mystical traditions. For example, in Buddhism, it reminded me of the endless knot of Buddhism that's consumed by the perennial Kalpa fire that is constantly transforming darkness into light. So that's another type of mandala that comes out of the Eastern way of thinking. And an echo of that is also comes from Buddhism. Is emptiness, or some people refer to it as absence, is constantly being reborn into new beginnings or presence. So emptiness, new beginnings, absence, presence. And another type of mandala that I think fits in with this same sort of thing is the Jewish tradition of Kabbalah. And the early Christian mandala that Joe has talked about before, uh, the Abun, um, the name for God, is again moving around a four-part mandala type um, thing from existence to falling apart to emptiness to the beginning of new life. So that's really all I wanted to say about the comparison between uh, these two mandalas, one from the 13th century and one that's much more ancient. But what I'd like to do now is offer up some readings. Joe, you can go ahead and get that off the screen. Thank you. So I'm going to use two sources with some readings that kind of I think will shed a little more light on this. One is the book that Joe has been using with Eckhart, the Book of the Heart from Eckhart. And of course, if you're not familiar with Eckhart, he's a 13th century Rhineland mystic. He was a Dominican priest and theologian. He was censured by the church for heresy and sort of went silent for 800 years. And then made popular again by Matthew Fox 600 years later. The other writer I wanted to use that talking about the Native American part of it is that a guy named Stephen Charleston, and he is a modern Episcopal priest and is the retired Bishop of Alaska. And you can follow him on Facebook if you're so inclined. He's got some interesting stuff there. But he's also a member of the Choctaw Nation. And in fact, his grandparents survived the Trail of Tears. Moving from the Carolinas to Oklahoma. And by the way, tidbit of knowledge, Oklahoma, the Okla in the Native American language means people, and Huma means red. So Oklahoma means red people. And that's where Charleston was born. So I want to start with a reading from Eckhart that just kind of, I think, captures the essence of the wayless way for Eckhart. You are the one who is in. You are the one who is in, yet beyond the many. A light burning in darkness, and darkness shining beyond light. The good beyond all that is evil, and the nothing radiant in all things. The nameless one in all we name, and the origin that gathers in the end and is active in every beginning. The one in my many, the light in my dark, dark in my light, good in my evil, and nothing in my all, nameless in my name, and beginning in my end. Now, what I would like to do with Stephen Charleston is I picked out 4 brief readings from from Charleston that gives the flavor of the four directions of the Native American mandala. So this is his writing, starting with the South. This one is called The Prophet of the Obvious. I am the herald of the ordinary, the mystic of the common, the prophet of the obvious. Those descriptions make me smile because they remind me that what is the most mystical is actually the most mundane. We do not need to be transported to far distant realms to catch a glimpse of the sacred. If we spend all our time with our head in the clouds, we may miss the Spirit who works in clay and water. Faith does not begin in what we imagine, but in what we experience. It is felt, held, passed on. Heaven is not over the rainbow, but in the earth after the rain. And this is for the West. Again, Stephen Charleston on I walked among lost graves to hear my ancestors speak, whispering beneath the branches as the timeless wind passed by. The faith we leave is the faith we live, the faith we learn, the faith we give. Some seek to hide an emptiness within, others listen to truth among the poor. Touch truth on bodies broken, and know truth as the timeless wind passes by. All right, to the north, capturing the flavor of the north. They are watching over you, the ones who have gone before, the ones who know you best, the spirits of a love that never dies, your ancestors of hope and courage, bright souls who shaped your life and showed you what life really was. They watch over you, they hear you, they care for you, no matter what comes. No matter what happens, they are there, sheltering you beneath their blessing, giving you the wisdom you need, the strength you need, to live as they lived, to love as they loved, to watch in wonder the unfolding of a blanket of dreams. And then finally, the East. The candles where I pray flicker to life one by one, each a small universe of hope in itself, bravely aflame with the desire to be fulfilled, glowing against the dark as if saying, I am here. I am here. Let me live. I am here. Let me dream. Let me grow, let me become. I light my candles because they embody not only the prayers, but the person. They are the spark of life within each of us, flickering within the air of the spirit, shining into the cold expanse of space, repeating the ancient message, I am here. And then I have one final one from Eckhart to kind of this is sort of a capping phrase. When God turns the eye of that singular heart, all he sees is holiness. Everything bound together, beautifully whole. This, my friend, is heaven.